Well, the snow has fallen. It's early November, and yeah, of course it's snowing. I'm surprised it wasn't snowing come August. That's what you get for living in Wisconsin, I guess. But it is time to winterize cars. I just finished doing mine today. It's pretty simple, really. If you can keep your cars indoors, it's best. If they have to sit out all winter, don't put a cover on them. You'll just waste the paint. The cover will flap in the wind all day, and as it gets wet and dries in the sun, it'll ruin the clear coat if the wind hasn't already ruined it by beating a tarp or a car cover against it for 6 months in a row. But aside from that, how else do you winterize it? Well, if you have it indoors, a good idea is to put the tires over some foam. It helps prevent your tires from getting flat spots. You wouldn't have to necessarily put it up on blocks. That's not necessary. That's overkill. Unless you're really gunning for it. But you're bound to have more issues trying to put it on blocks than you are just parking it over 4 foam pads. Really trying to make this thing sit on blocks is a pain because it's got 4-point independent suspension. The control arms up front are itty bitty. The ones in the rear aren't all that big. And the car weighs so little that whenever you have to do 2 wheels at a time, otherwise it likes to scooch around while you have it up in the air. And then, like I said, if you have it parked on the ground, a good idea is to put mothballs around each of the wheels. You can do that. Mice won't want to go in. They just won't go in. That's the only way they can get in unless your car is sitting on the frickin' ground. So you put mothballs around each of the wheels. If you're having it parked outside, take a plastic Tupperware container, put mothballs in that, sit a couple on the floorboards. Mice won't want in. Once you've done that, you can go around and cover up the windows. I can't see it because it's snowing, but I have a windshield visor up front. I'd put in ones in my windows and my back window, but I have louvers in the back, so that's no issue. And on my sides, my visor covers up the dash. That's all I'm worried about. The seats don't fade as bad as everything else does. So side window covers are optional. If you have a sunroof, you might want to cover the inside of that too. Really make sure that there's no way that can leak. Once you've done all of that, put a little bit of stabilizer in the fuel tank. Read the instructions on the bottle. You want enough for how many gallons are in it. The biggest gas tanks these had were 13 gallons, so there's no need to put in more stabilizer than what 13 gallons would need treating. Once you've done that, you can just start her up, run it for 10-15 minutes. The longer the better, but anything over half an hour is kind of overkill. But doing it for a solid half an hour is good. That will keep rust from forming in your with your engine internals. That's an issue you see a lot on motorcycles. Guys will park them indoors all winter, and then they'll go out, start it every month or once a couple weeks, just because they want to start it. They want to keep the juices flowing. Well, running it for just the 5 minutes at a time, it creates more condensation in in this case it would be a block, in the crankcase than what it's worth. It creates all that condensation, and it doesn't get hot enough to burn it. So all that condensation just gets trapped in there. And then that means that your bearings will oxidize and your cranks and rods will rust. Same with your camshafts, valves, everything of that nature. So once you've run it a while on stabilizer, turn it off, you're pretty much done. These guys have interesting carburetors. You can have fuel sit in that forever. And you won't really have any problems. They're somewhat self-draining. They drain almost every drop out of themselves, some way, somehow. I'm not sure if they're... Because when you look at the carburetor, there's not a low drain anywhere to totally drain out the bowls of the float. So you kind of just have to let it sit there. And the only way to literally drain it is to take the carb out and tip it over. But you let it sit, it won't hurt anything. The jets don't sit in the bowl of fuel, so the jets won't get gummed up if you leave it sitting. They only really get dirty if you take the air cleaner off and leave it off all winter or whatever, and then critters and bugs try getting in there. Once you've done that, you've pretty much done everything. Make sure that you have actual antifreeze in the coolant system and not just water. You really shouldn't have only water there anyhow, because that's not good for your cooling, and that's not good for your antifreeze. That's a double negative. And then, of course, pull the battery out, and then put that on a tender over winter. It'll be ready to go when you want to start it up come spring. And then when you're ready to start it up, just throw the battery in, start it like you normally would. If you wanted to change the oil over brake, whatever, that's fine. Just do it. But then before you try starting it in the spring, disconnect the ignition coil and then just roll the engine over some so you know that you're pumping oil all over the engine, so when you start it up, you're not starting it dead out of oil. And then you just go about driving it until fall comes again, and really that's all there is to it. So I'll get inside because it's freezing, and we'll see you some other time.